It's renfaire season again, so we're starting a new pirate costume. Today's project is going to be a Baroque inspired pirate. This is in no way going to be historically accurate, probably not even going to be historically adjacent. It's mostly going to be inspired by the color palettes and like the general opulence of the Baroque era. It might resemble like a cutesy hot girl version of the Baroque era, but it's definitely not going to be anything close to like what Baroque era clothing looks like. For your reference, the Baroque era did run from about 1600 to 1750, and the outfits look like this. Kind of is similar to Rococo era kind of style. I know that more people seem to be familiar with Rococo. It's fairly similar. There are some differences, but the Baroque era is mostly exemplified by the long pointed stomachers on the dresses, and then like obviously like big floofy gowns. You know, here, this is visual aid. So what I'm going to be making is going to be nothing like this, except that I will be making a bodice that has kind of a long point down the middle, and that's about all that we're keeping. I've made a sketch. Here's the sketch. As you can maybe see, there's this bodice with the pointed piece in the middle, and then there's a peplum on top. We'll see how that actually pans out. And then a ruffly circle skirt. It's going to be the underlayer, and that'll get hiked up with skirt hikes. And then for the underlayer, I'm going to be using this shift that I got from the Maryland Renfaire garb sale. If you haven't watched that video, you should go check it out. I got a lot of cool stuff, but this shift was one of them. So I will be wearing this as my bottom layer. This is floor length, so I'll be hiking up with skirt hikes. It's got these nice long billowy sleeves, so that'll look really nice and piratey. And then the peplum and the ruffled gather skirt will be over top of the shift and then like hiked up with the shift. If the colors don't work out and I don't love how close the red of the shift is to the red of the fabric for the stays that I'm making, I might end up making another, not like a full shift, but maybe like a blouse chemise kind of thing. So for pieces, I'm going to be making a corset with some maybe sleeves, a top peplum overskirt, and then a lower ruffle gathered skirt. So those are the three items that I'm going to be making for sure. I also haven't decided yet if this is going to be one video or two videos. Usually I like to separate out stays and corsets from everything else. You'll be able to tell from the title if this covers both the stays and the skirts, or if this is just covering the stays. If this is just covering the stays, then I will have another video for the skirts coming out soon. Let's talk about some patterns. I'm going to be using this guy. This is BAROQUE 4254. I'm not sure if this is a discontinued pattern or not, but you can find them on Etsy. Alright, good bet. I know, you're so upset. These are not quite for the right time era. These are more like mid 1700s, I believe. I've used this before in my renfaire fairy. You can check out that series and that video, and then I've styled it again more recently into other costumes. The only issue that I have with this pattern generally is that if you look, you can see all of the boning that goes right across the bust. Because there's no vertical support going through this horizontally boned area, top does tend to crunch, and that can end up in some wardrobe malfunctions if you're not careful. For fabric, I have, oh god, I have a bin. This is my current project bin. I'm trying to be more organized and keep all my fabrics for the project in one bin so that I'm not searching for things constantly and wasting time. So that's what this is. It's a little more fabric than I actually need, but we'll see. For the stays, my main fabrics are going to be these two guys. I got this chenille while fabric shopping in LA while I was there for Labyrinth. So this was at one of the upholstery stores. This from my stash, I don't really remember what I bought this for, but it's a red stretch velvet. It's going to be kind of a pain to make stays out of this, but it's the texture I want, so we're just going to suffer a little bit. I'm going to do any gold binding I need in either this. It's a gold paisley brocade. This is what I used for those original stays of this pattern, so I think it's kind of funny to like use this. My other option is to use this just like plain gold satin, but I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence. If it ends up being like too busy, then I will use the gold satin, but I think that this would give it a lot of nice texture, and also the Baroque period was all for being extra. So another option that I have for the stays, because I'm just doing like the stomacher area in that blue, I have this velvet as well if I decide that I don't like the texture of the chenille with the texture of the velvet. But this is a lot more similar to velvet. I mean, it is velvet, so it's more similar to the red velvet, so I think using the chenille instead will be a little more interesting. I also have a ton of gold trim. This is leftover from my Breath of the Wild Zelda project that I made before I started doing YouTube. So I think I have enough to do maybe like the top edge of the stays, and I think that that will look nice as a band across the bust. Some various gold trims. I bought some gold trims while we were in LA. My mom used to be really into making drapery for our house when we were children. She's given me like her old upholstery kind of stuff, and so I found some of this. So that, I think, with the gold trim across the bust would look really cool, like these together. Let me know what you think in the comments, but it will be too late by the time this is up because I will have finished it. I got a lot of work to do, so let's go cut some fabric. Oh, so normally at this point I would be doing a fitting, and I think it's very good to do a fitting, especially if you're making something like stays where the fit is really important. I've already made these stays before. I reduced the size a little bit because the stays that I made previously close all the way and I would like there to be a little bit of a gap. But other than that, it shouldn't make a really big difference, so I'm not going to bother doing a fitting. But if you are watching this and you are making your own stays, do a fitting. It'll save you some headaches down the line. Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. All right, let's go cut.
An owl hoot comes, then another, and another. I wait until I hear all 7 of them, signaling that each crossing street is a garden.
got this part done. I added all of the trim to this before actually sewing the whole thing together. I've gotten the cotillo layer stuck to the lining layer. Just like ignore that it's Harry Potter lining. I have a ton of old Harry Potter quilting cotton that I need to work my way through. So I've got my cotillo and my lining together. I did all the channels separate from the front because I didn't really want it showing through. Like I didn't want all the stitching showing through the front, but also because this is a stretch velvet. Doing the stitching on this, I was worried it would create a lot of drag lines because it'll stretch with the machine and everything. So I decided not to risk that and to just do it separately. So I'll just end up bagging the like lacing ends, I guess, of the corset stays together, and then I'm gonna bind the top and bottom. Did the trim before attaching it to all the rest of it because I don't want to have to hand sew all of it, and I can't really stitch through bones, so that's why I did that first, and that's why all this is separate. But it will not be separate for much longer. Next thing I'm doing is, like I said before, I'm gonna bag this center back edge out, bind it with some gold bias tape. Then I'm going to be adding some trim and beads and whatever crap to it, and also sewing some pearls on it. And then we're almost done. I'm trying to decide if I want to do any like other stuff to it, like embroidery, or adding more dangly stuff like some hanging pearls. I still have Micah's shirt to make for this weekend, and then the skirts for this costume, so we'll see. Yeah, let's put that stuff together. like this video. It's been a little bit of time since I made this costume, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's not a color scheme that I usually work with. I don't usually do much yellow, and like it's gold and not really yellow, but it's kind of a yellowy gold, and I don't really work that much with like this kind of shade of blue. So it was fun using some different colors than I normally use. So let's go through some of the things that worked out really well and some of the things that didn't work out so well. I think all of the gold trim worked really well. Adding the gold trim before I put both the layers together really saved me a lot of time in not having to hand sew the whole thing, so that was great. And I'm really happy with how that beaded trim looked laying over top of the gold trim. I think it added a lot of nice depth, and same with like the pearls. I'm just really happy with the level of embellishment that I was able to get onto this costume. I think it looks really cool. I do wish that I'd had time to like maybe add some more skirts or like do a different top that matched a little bit better, but honestly the little crop top puffy sleeve thing that I made for my Celestial Pirate was probably one of my most worn items this entire renfaire season. Got washed a lot, so don't worry. So even though that was originally like a stash busting project, I actually ordered some more fabric of that same white with the gold threads and some red and I think maybe a blue as well, so I can make some more of so that I can wear them for next year's renfaire season. I don't really have that much to say, I think, about the bodice. Like everything worked out pretty well. I was already pretty comfortable with this pattern, so that worked out great. I definitely want to make more things with this pattern, and I extended the vertical bones up into where the horizontal bones are in the top this time, so it did keep it from crunching down on itself, which is really good because I had a lot of trim there and I wouldn't have wanted that to get all like squished and not cute. So that was a good change that I made. I really liked that I was able to use a lot of stuff from my stash. I mentioned all of the fabrics at the beginning, but a lot of the gold trim, the red velvet, the gold satin, that kind of stuff was all from my stash. So aside from the chenille and a couple of the gold trims, I was able to use a lot of supplies that I had, which is great. Always want more projects that use up some of the like mass amounts of fabric and stuff that I have. For cons or things that I could have improved, one of the problems that I realized I was having making the top layer separate from the foundation layer, the two layers didn't really sit together. They were kind of separating apart so that it looked kind of like loose and like baggy when I put it on. So that was a pretty easy fix. All I had to do for that was stitch through the seams. So I'd match up the seams on the outer like decorative layer with the foundation layer and then just stitch through both of them, and it makes it like pretty invisible, and also it helps all of the layers like live together. Let's see, anything else that was bad? Oh, the pearls that were like under like my arms, I guess. I don't know. They made little loops around here. Those strands of pearls on both sides broke. So two of them did stay intact. I think the smaller loop on either side stayed intact. The longer loops must have gotten caught on something when I was dancing or when I was hanging out with people, and those did snap and I probably lost some pearls. But I do have a lot more pearls that I can just fix it and do it again. That is something to note. If you're gonna make something with like loops hanging off of your body, then maybe use like a jewelry wire kind of thing or fishing line, something that's a little bit more sturdy than just sewing thread. I thought that because it was a bodice and it wasn't going to be stretching or anything at all, that it would be fine, but I didn't really account for the fact that like this area gets a lot of like friction, and also like if someone hugs me they could get caught and pull, and like we're doing the dancing with the partners and all of that. There's a lot of opportunity for those strands of pearls to get snagged on something and then to snap. Something to note in the future. I don't think there's anything else that I thought could be fixed or done better. I don't know. If you think of something or notice something during the video, then let me know in the comments. But I think that this turned out really well. It turned out pretty much how I envisioned it, and I'm really happy with how everything looks. So it's definitely something that I'm going to be wearing again once I fix those pearl strands. Definitely was for a specific costume, but I think it's kind of like it's got enough colors and it's got enough embellishment that I think it could go with some other stuff too. So looking forward to being able to incorporate that into other costumes in the future. So I think that's it. I think that's all I've got to say about this costume. As you may have noticed, this did only cover the corset, so I will be getting another video edited that is the skirt and the hat, so keep an eye out for that. The vlog for Pirate Weekend where I wore this costume is already up, so go check that out if you haven't already. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, all of that stuff, put it in the comments. I do want to note that I have been reading the comments less. My mental health has not been the best recently. There's been a lot going on just in my own life, and then also with the election and all that going on. Yeah, my mental health just has been taking a hit. So I'm trying to do things that protect my brain a little bit, so I don't read all of the comments. Well, I do really love talking to you guys, and there are a lot of you that I love to hear from, and I like hearing about your suggestions, your projects that you're working on, questions. I really do want to help out and answer any questions, but I have noticed that there are always a few comments for every video that kind of stress me out, and right now I just do not have the mental fortitude to deal with them. So if you've asked me a question recently on a video and I haven't responded to you, I'm really sorry. I will get to it eventually once I get back in like my normal mental space. And if you're new here and this is the first video of mine that you've seen, I make lots of sewing videos, renfaire videos, event vlogs, just like general fantasy fun kind of stuff. So if that's what you're interested in, then please stick around and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!